Have you ever wondered about the story behind the world's worst nuclear disaster, Chernobyl? In the heart of Ukraine, back in 1986, a catastrophic nuclear accident shook the world. The Chernobyl disaster, a name that still echoes with a chilling resonance. It was an event that transcended boundaries, etching a grim chapter in the annals of humanity. This incident sparked a global awakening to the profound consequences of nuclear energy mishaps. It led to a significant evolution in international treaty law, with the focus on nuclear safety, emergency preparedness, and environmental law. The aftermath of this disaster was felt far beyond the borders of Ukraine, with radioactive material spreading over a vast expanse, triggering an emergency evacuation of thousands of innocent lives. The intrigue and controversy surrounding Chernobyl, the delayed release of information about the disaster, and the international reaction that ensued all contribute to an intricate tapestry of history, politics, and human resilience. So, let's embark on a journey into the heart of the nightmare city, Chernobyl. Together, we'll explore the desolate streets, the abandoned structures, and the silent echoes of a once thriving community. This is not just a journey through space, but also a journey through time, unraveling the layers of a story that needs to be told. The date was April 26, 1986, a day that would go down in infamy. The sun rose over the city of Pripyat in Ukraine, unaware of the catastrophe that was about to unfold. Nestled within the city was the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, a symbol of Soviet technological prowess. But that morning, a routine safety test went awry, triggering a sequence of events that would culminate in the world's worst nuclear disaster. As the reactor's core overheated due to a fatal flaw in the test design, it led to a massive explosion, blasting off the reactor's heavy steel and concrete lid. This catastrophic event released a radioactive cloud of isotopes into the atmosphere, which would eventually spread over much of the Western USSR and Europe. Amidst the chaos and confusion, the brave plant workers and firefighters battled the raging nuclear inferno, oblivious to the lethal doses of radiation they were being exposed to. In the immediate aftermath of the explosion, the Soviet government's response was shrouded in secrecy. For days, the world remained oblivious to the disaster that had occurred. It was only after elevated radiation levels were detected in Sweden, thousands of miles away, did the Soviet Union admit to the catastrophe. Internationally, the incident was a wake-up call. It highlighted the potential global implications of nuclear accidents and the need for transparency and cooperation. The delay in releasing information about the accident and the subsequent reaction from the international community led to the signing of several international conventions. These aim to ensure nuclear safety, emergency preparedness, and the right to environmental information. Despite the best efforts of the Soviet authorities to contain the disaster at a national level, the magnitude of the crisis soon became apparent, leading them to appeal for international cooperation in 1990. This plea was met with a UN General Assembly resolution calling for international cooperation and the formation of an interagency task force to study and mitigate the consequences of the Chernobyl disaster. The disaster was just the beginning. The real nightmare was yet to unfold. The immediate crisis may have been contained, but the long-term impact of the disaster on the people, the environment, and the geopolitical landscape was only starting to take shape. The dawn of disaster, as it came to be known, was only the prelude to a long and challenging journey into the heart of Nightmare City. The explosion was catastrophic, but the fallout was even worse. This isn't just a reference to the radioactive debris that rained down upon the surrounding areas, but also to the long-term effects that would forever alter the lives of those in its wake. In the immediate aftermath of the Chernobyl meltdown, thousands of people were evacuated from their homes, leaving behind their lives as they knew them. But, as we now know, the impact of the disaster extended far beyond the boundaries of the exclusion zone. The radioactive material that was released into the atmosphere didn't just stay in the vicinity of Chernobyl. It spread across much of Europe, contaminating land and water sources, and putting countless lives at risk. It's estimated that millions of people were exposed to some level of radiation as a result of the accident. The health impact was devastating. Many of those who were directly exposed to the radiation, including the first responders and cleanup workers, suffered acute radiation sickness. Over time, an increased incidence of cancer, particularly thyroid cancer, was reported among those who lived in the affected areas. The true health toll, however, may never be fully known, as the long-term effects of radiation exposure can take decades to manifest. But the fallout wasn't limited to public health. The environment also bore the brunt of the disaster. Forests and farmlands were rendered useless, animals and plants died in droves, and entire ecosystems were disrupted. Even today, the land around Chernobyl is considered one of the most radioactive places on Earth. The Soviet authorities, in their initial attempts at containment, were overwhelmed by the magnitude of the disaster. Despite their best efforts, the radiation couldn't be contained and the damage couldn't be undone. It was a glaring testament to the dangers of nuclear power and a stark reminder of the potential consequences when things go wrong. The fallout wasn't just radioactive, it was political, social, and environmental. The Chernobyl disaster served as a wake-up call to the world, exposing the vulnerabilities of nuclear power and prompting a re-evaluation of its use. It marked a turning point in our understanding of nuclear safety and led to significant changes in international law. But perhaps most importantly, it underscored the need for transparency and cooperation in the face of such global threats. In the wake of the disaster, the legal world was forced to respond. The Chernobyl catastrophe was a turning point for international treaty law, sparking a seismic shift in the way we approach nuclear safety, emergency preparedness, and environmental law. The explosion at Chernobyl led to an international outcry for a more robust framework of nuclear energy law. At the time of the incident, only a handful of conventions existed. The delay in releasing information about the disaster, combined with the reaction of the global community, led to the signing of two key conventions: the Convention on Early Notification of a Nuclear Accident and the Convention on Assistance in the Case of a Nuclear Accident or Radiological Emergency. These agreements underscored the importance of transparency and were instrumental in establishing the right to environmental information. Closer to the epicenter, the Ukrainian government adopted over 1,000 legal acts to manage the affected territories. This ambitious legislative response was necessary, as nuclear contamination remains a high-priority environmental concern in the region. Notably, recent presidential decrees have shown promise in rehabilitating contaminated areas and establishing a biosphere reserve. Yet, the legal aftermath of Chernobyl wasn't confined to international conventions or domestic legislation. The disaster also reshaped our understanding of liability in the wake of nuclear accidents. No country could seek compensation from the USSR for Chernobyl due to its non-party status to relevant conventions. This led to the adoption of the joint protocol relating to the application of the Vienna Convention and the Paris Convention. These conventions extended principles of liability, ensuring that nations would be held accountable for nuclear incidents. The Soviet authorities initially managed the fallout from the explosion at a national level, but by 1990, they recognized the need for international cooperation. In response, the United Nations General Assembly adopted a resolution calling for international collaboration and the formation of an interagency task force to study and mitigate the consequences of the Chernobyl disaster. Chernobyl forced the world to rethink its approach to nuclear safety and the environment. This tragic incident served as a stark reminder of the potential dangers of nuclear energy, prompting a global response that forever altered the landscape of international treaty law and environmental legislation. Today, Chernobyl stands as a ghost town, a haunting reminder of the past. Once buzzing with life and activity, it's now a silent tableau of deserted structures and untamed wilderness. The city that was evacuated overnight in the aftermath of the 1986 nuclear disaster is now an eerie testament to the unforgiving power of nuclear energy. Even after nearly 4 decades, the Chernobyl exclusion zone, a 30-kilometer radius around the damaged reactor, remains largely uninhabited. Ongoing containment efforts persist, with over 1,000 legal acts adopted by Ukraine to manage the affected territories. Yet nuclear contamination remains a priority environmental problem, a stark reminder of the disaster's enduring impact. This desolate landscape, however, isn't entirely void of life. In a surprising twist of fate, nature has reclaimed this ghost town. The exclusion zone has become a unique sanctuary for wildlife, with species like moose, deer, and brown bears thriving amid the ruins. Recent presidential decrees aim at rehabilitating the contaminated areas and establishing a biosphere reserve, further highlighting the resilience of nature in the face of human catastrophe. Yet beneath the burgeoning wildlife and the rusting carousel, the city holds on to its past. The abandoned homes, schools, and hospitals whisper tales of a time when they were filled with laughter, learning, and life. They echo with the stories of the thousands who were forced to leave everything behind in the wake of the disaster. Chernobyl today is a paradox, a place where tragedy and resilience coexist, where human error has given way to nature's tenacity. It's a silent sentinel, a stark reminder of the past, and a symbol of the enduring power of nature. As we journey through its deserted streets and overgrown parks, we're reminded of the profound impact our actions can have on the world around us. Chernobyl, the city of ghosts, continues to echo with the stories of those who once called it home. The story of Chernobyl is a chilling reminder of the power and danger of nuclear energy. We've journeyed together through the dawn of this disaster, felt the fallout, understood the legal aftermath, and explored the eerie stillness of the ghost town today. The catastrophe of 1986 led to the evolution of international treaty law, shaping nuclear safety, emergency preparedness, and environmental law as we know it today. The fallout from Chernobyl continues to reverberate in our discussions on nuclear safety and environmental protection. It serves as a stark reminder of the need for transparency, international cooperation, and stringent safety measures in the management of nuclear energy. The ghost town of Chernobyl, once a bustling city, now stands as a testament to the devastating power of nuclear disaster. As we reflect on the story of Chernobyl, we are reminded of the responsibility we hold for our planet and for future generations. This journey into the heart of Nightmare City is not just about understanding our past, but about learning from it to safeguard our future. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Don't forget to subscribe for more educational content.